Hello everyone, it's 8 o'clock on a Thursday, which means it's time for our fertilitysupport.sg IG Live. So thanks so much for joining us today. It's just so great to have you on board every week. Every week we're just growing by numbers. And we just can't do this without your support. So we're here to support you, and equally we know that you're out there supporting us as well. So just thank you so much. Before we invite our guest tonight in for our IG Live, I just want to just tell you how exciting it is to have Red Miller in our IG Live tonight. She's an IVF mum, she's a midwife, she's an author, and just an all-round good egg, and we are just so lucky to have her. I'm just about to invite her on, so bear with me while we just do this. So yeah, we're just waiting for her to join us, and then we'll go. So yeah, just to go over what Red has achieved. She's also the founder of Love-Based Birth, and she's all about a holistic approach to preconception and just advising hundreds of couples about how to make decisions that aren't based on fear. So, and I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that, so it'd just be great to hear from her shortly. She's witnessed births all over the world. I want to say 800 births or so in about sort of 10 different countries. I just can't wait to hear more from her, and she's here in the live now, so I'm just going to add her. So excited to have. Here she is, just connecting now. Hello, Red.
Hi.
Hello, welcome.
Kate, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited. Just before you joined, I've just been telling all our viewers tonight just a little bit about you. You just have such an impressive resume. Just to go over a few things, and you can fill in the blanks. You're an IVF mum, so you're in good company here.
Yeah.
A midwife, an author, the founder of Love-Based Birth, someone who's witnessed 800 births in 10 different countries, from rice fields in Cambodia to palaces. I mean, where do we even begin? You've had an incredible career, Red.
Yes, I have. I'm so blessed, really. And let me just turn off my WhatsApp so it doesn't beep while we're doing this. So yeah, I have been a midwife now for 15 years or something, and I've really just been so blessed to have a very varied career. So I've seen all sorts of things.
One of the things, Red, that I read about you is you encourage couples, hundreds of couples, to make decisions that aren't fear-based, and that kind of really struck a chord with me. I feel like just my journey, miscarriage, a DNC, failed IUI, into IVF, all of that, there was a lot of fear associated with that. And I'm sure I speak for a lot of people watching this. Tell me about your approach and how people can make those decisions without fear.
Yes, well, first of all, Kate, thank you for having me on. And hello to everyone who's in our audience. I am joining tonight actually from my first night in quarantine in Singapore. So I feel a little bit like disorientated, a little bit kind of here and there, just kind of landing into my reality of like, oh wow, I have these four walls here for the next 14 days. So I just want to own that first, because I do feel a little bit disorientated right now. And Yeah, so exactly what you said. I think I see when fear is running our stories, when it's running our process, it completely overtakes the process, right? So we make decisions based on like, what if, like that place that's really dark and scary. We choose care providers that way. We tend to kind of, you know, take tests because of that. We just, fear can dominate everything we do, especially in the conception space, in the pregnancy space, in the birth space, because actually fear is an epidemic that everybody has, you know, from midwives to doctors to women to doulas to, you know, we somehow today are so afraid of anything that is, or of many things, let's say, that is normal. Um, it's kind of like, I don't know, the energy can really be like we're just sitting around like waiting for something to go wrong. So I really like to come straight into this place with couples that I work with, like, right, okay, so how do we just start to shift this? Like, we don't have to do anything dramatic, you know, but how do we just start, first and foremost, really understanding the culture, the world that we're in, understanding how the medical system is run, the maternity care system is run. And then from there, be able to just kind of put ourselves with a bit of a reality check into the driver's seat in a way that's like, right, okay, so how do I want to do this? You know, and what are the steps that we can put in place to just be able to anchor back into the why we're kind of doing this, and how do we want to feel, and steering it all back to the love. And it's
Red,
so simple, and it's so vast at the same time.
um, talk about your holistic approach to preconception and trying to sort of plan a family.
Yeah, well, I guess the starting place is demystifying maybe that word if people don't know what that means. And, you know, when we have a holistic view on ourselves, on our bodies, on our situations, we know that we're not just physical matter, right? So we can't really separate what is our mind, our body, our spirit, our emotions, our experience. So we know that many of the dis-ease that we experience, is a lot of it can come from the mind. You know, our emotions, everything is kind of layered. So when we take a holistic approach, it just means that we don't just want to look at the body and say, right, okay, well, you know, you're all of these different numbers and these blood works and these values, and this is what your ultrasound shows, and then make a decision based on that. We want to really look at, you know, who are you? What are your feelings? What is your view on life? How do you care for yourself? What kind of food do you eat? What is the conversations going on inside your head? So we really look at the totality of a person and their experience. What is your history? What are your fears? What did your mom tell you about pregnancy and birth? And then we really get into some really interesting places, because we can really then better understand how to support that woman as an individual, because this is what's missing in a lot of the kind of allopathic or mainstream or institutional healthcare. Is it's very kind of one size fits all approach. And this is never going to work for us women, you know, because we're just, I can tell you every single birth that I have attended, they have all been excruciatingly, extraordinarily different. You
And
know,
you've seen 800 of them.
yes, and they're all different. And that's why 800 later, I'm just like, this is incredible because I'm always learning, I'm always discovering, and every mom and baby is so different that, yeah, to have that kind of personalized approach is super key, in my opinion.
Tell us about the mind body connection and then the spirit baby connection if you know if it all goes to plan and you are pregnant.
Yes, I like to talk about spirit babies. And in my perspective, actually, it happens much before pregnancy. So I feel that what I notice working with women in the preconception period, especially women who've experienced loss, who've had difficult journeys, I notice sometimes that there becomes kind of like a disconnect from like the doing. So you know what our process is, all of the kind of things that we're doing, and actually the why are we doing it. So I love to always come back to the fact of like, well, actually we're going through all of this, the the tests, the injections, you know, whatever it is, because we want to expand our love. We want to expand our family. We want to bring someone in to journey with and to mother and to experience life with. And so, is that something that we're keeping in the foreground? You know, are we remembering our why? And not to be too kind of esoteric, because we can come at this from so many different levels that are very scientific as well. But everything is just energy, right? So even before this person lands into our body, you know, it could be, I'm not saying it is, but it could be that they're kind of out there somewhere, and it could be possible to connect with that feeling. It can just be a feeling, right? It doesn't have to be weird, it doesn't have to be woo woo, but like, yeah, who is that person that I want to attract into our family, and not in a pressurized way, but how does my mind, body, vessel, family life, experience of life, feeling in the world, how attractive is that? You know, am I like closed and desperate and fearful, and or am I open and receptive and curious? And you know, it's okay to be in that very closed place, but it might be harder from that place. So who are the people that we can seek out to bring on our team that may help us to slowly just move the balance, you know, coming a little bit just step by step into that more open, curious, receptive place. So there's an amazing book, and it's called Spirit Babies, and it's by I can link it in the comments, but it's by a fellow named Walter McKitchen, I believe. And he really goes into the concept of connecting with the person that you want to bring into your life. And it adds I recommend that book a lot, and it adds some really interesting layers into what it is that we're doing in our fertility journeys. And he has a few exercises in there about really simple things, you know, just kind of one that he has is like imagining that you have like a funnel, you know, and what are you sending up in the funnel, and what's coming down in the funnel, and so a lot of the work that I like to do with women is you know, in that mind body space, is coming back to our centers, you know, coming back to the ground, really coming back to nature, coming back to ourself, coming back to wholeness, coming back to our intuition, coming into okayness. You know, I really see that the more sophisticated the kind of like culture that I'm working in, or the environment, or so for sure cities, right, compared to more rural areas or farming women, like everything in the reproductive space is more, the more kind of like technologically advanced the community, the more difficult a lot of the normal natural things are, right? The more disease we see, and because I feel like we have come away from that center. We're busy all the time. We're like plugged in all the time, right? We live up in the air. You know, right now I'm on the 14th floor, and for me, I like to be closer to the ground. So even that's like, well, yeah, I have a nice view, which I'm really grateful for, seeing as I'm going to be in here for 2 weeks. But
I was going to say,
like,
you've got 14 days, Red.
yeah. I have a long to-do list that I'm excited to get to, but yeah, what does it mean to even live in the air? You know, like how often do we prioritize like getting in the ground, getting our feet in the grass? You know, it's the simple things. Connecting first and foremost with ourselves is something that I'm really passionate about. And then once we connect to ourselves, once we learn some really basic ways to get really compassionate with ourselves, that's when we can be in our vibrance, you know, and then we can connect out, and we can create from a really different place.
Okay, so this IG live is obviously for the community. Pink Squints is a regular with us. It's great to see her handle on the live tonight. She's messaged us with a question, and Red, I'm going to put it to you. What does a holistic approach to infertility mean? Do you change your environment, your mindset, those sorts of things?
Mm. Yeah, well, the holistic approach is everything that you just mentioned. It is, it's again, it's not just thinking in like a one-dimensional sort of way. It's not just thinking about, okay, this is my lab value, so let me do that. It's maybe even noticing, what does my body do when I see that lab value? You know, where does my thought go? Where does my breath go? What do I notice about myself? You know, it's just bringing a little bit of awareness is one thing, around mindset, being compassionate with ourselves, not judging ourselves so much in our processes. And then it's so much about environment. You know, I'm a really big fan of doing preconception detoxes, and that can be simple. That can be very detailed. So spending that maybe at least 3 months preparing for conception, preparing the body, preparing the mind. But 6 months is also wonderful. And that can be everything from, you know, in my own personal journey, I gave myself about 6 months to, well, it was longer than that, because I sort of started, and then we were working on getting pregnant, and actually my husband had a vasectomy, um, because he had, you know, 3 kids from a previous marriage, and he was done with that 10 years, more than 10 years, like 15 years before I came along into his life. And so then we did a reversal, and then you know, so I sort of did a detox program for myself before that, and then I feel like we didn't get great advice, and we didn't know that we had a small window maybe before the vas deferens closed, and so we weren't maybe being as persistent with our trying as we could have been. So then that turned into the vas deferens closing and having no sperm again. And then, you know, another kind of, it took me a couple of years to decide if IVF was something, a path that I really wanted to walk down. And so then finally when that happened, and then in preparation for that, that's when I gave myself about 6 months. And I did some pretty big things during that time. Like I removed all my amalgam fillings in my mouth. I wanted to get the mercury out of my body. I went off alcohol. I went off caffeine. I did liver detoxes. I was doing a lot of, I did some uterine tonic, different uterine tonics to do a uterine detox. I was doing like a lot of breath work and acupuncture, and I learned Arvigo massage, which I highly, highly recommend. And there's some great Arvigo massage therapists in the community that can help us to, you know, through massage, that it's quite easy to learn. We can get our uteruses in an optimal position. I knew that mine was retroverted, so it was tipped backwards. So I wanted to help to support to bring it forward, to increase my chances. So all of that kind of stuff, and I was already in a natural living kind of lifestyle. So and so a lot of those principles is what I teach also in my programs. It's like, wow, okay, so how do we reduce our, what you were saying, pink squinks, and the how do we reduce our environmental exposures? Because there's so much research now that is showing like we are pummeled by endocrine disrupting chemicals in our homes, in our body products. So I love to go into that also, as far as like, okay, so what are the really simple things that we can do to clean up our environment, to reduce our chemical load a little bit. So whether that's looking at foods, whether that's looking at the cleaning products in our homes, whether that's looking at the key kind of body products that we're using, especially perfumes and deodorants. You know, we know in when we go for an embryo transfer, for example, we're not supposed to wear anything with perfume, right? And the embryologists and everybody inside the lab, they just can't wear anything that is scented with synthetic fragrance, right? They have to shower before they go in. And the research is categoric about how fragrance can decrease our chance of a successful embryo transfer. So why don't we start all those things so much before, you know, so we're not just lathering ourselves in so much chemicals that really do disrupt our hormones. So that was kind of a long version of the question, I think. But
no. And what about sort of cleaning products in the home? Which
yes.
ones should we be avoiding?
I mean, what I recommend is that it's awesome to just get used to becoming not fanatical, but a clever label reader, right? So I personally don't buy anything that has an ingredient list this long, or things that I can't pronounce. So whether that's food, supplements, a cleaning product. I don't want to see colors and fillers and sugar and preservatives and so there's so much amazing information available now. Like, so for me in my home, every single cleaning product, so we make our own cleaning products, and it's from like Castile soap, vinegar, baking soda, a few essential oils, because even essential oils I think we can go way over the top with. And there is Mara of My Pure Earth, who's a woman in the community who's now in Bali, but she runs natural cleaning product workshops. There's tons of stuff you can find online. For me, it's so also in my program, like my Vibrant Pregnancy program, it's baby steps, right? We don't have to like go into the kitchen and throw out everything. But like, what are the few things that we can change? So maybe like laundry soap is a really good one, then dish soap, for example. And then getting that like the toilet bowl cleaner. That's one that, if you've got like bleach and all kinds of nasties in your toilet bowl cleaner, and then your head's down there, you're swooshing it around, you flush the toilet. And when we're preparing our home anyways for little people, it's good to get rid of all that stuff. We don't want bleach in our cupboards. We want to create a safe environment as well. We don't want to be washing our floors ideally with bleach, because our little ones are going to be crawling around down there. And I've seen incredible rashes and eczema and all sorts of things in little ones that can, and in pets also, that can really shift if we're not using such harsh chemicals in the home.
Red, you mentioned about supplements, and that's one of your areas of expertise, holistic supplements. What should we know about them?
Yeah, so first of all, I think I'm a really big believer and pusher about building a holistic team, right? So, okay, so you've got your gynecologist that you're working with if you're dealing with infertility, but they see their expertise is wonderful and very specific, right? So if we're looking to really optimize our health, actually most obstetricians, OB-GYNs don't know a lot about that, right? They don't study nutrition. They're surgeons with very specific knowledge. So who's on your team? So maybe bringing in a naturopath or a nutritionist or a midwife, or whoever's available in your area who can really help you to optimize. Because what I see is that a lot of the so even with supplements, like a lot of the brands that are being handed out over the counter, like at your gynae office, for example, they're crap. They're like cheap brands that are whatever the tie-up with whatever the kind of pharma company is. They're super substandard. They're filled with like fillers and binders and all the kind of stuff that actually you don't need, that you probably can't even absorb. So first and foremost, when it comes to supplements, you really want to get some really good quality stuff. And we're lucky in Singapore that we have iHerb that's so accessible. And you can get brands like Thorn is a really good brand on iHerb. They're shipped to Singapore in a couple days, and it's much more affordable than buying things here. So supplements is kind of a big topic. I always like to go first into nutrition. So actually, of course, we're we're wanting to get the majority of our nutrition from food. So simple things like, increasing our vegetable intake, eating the rainbow, um, getting a good pesticide wash is really important, I would say. I love the Agape Love, and I can link that into the comments as well.
Yes,
Um,
please.
yeah, learning about, I don't think that we have to eat like all organic, but when we're looking at reducing chemical exposure, pesticides is a really huge consideration today. So I do recommend everybody get really familiar with the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15, which we can also link in. And that's looking at just like, okay, what are the vegetables that are the most sprayed because they have the most amount of insects? And I always get the question, well, it's different in Singapore or Malaysia than it is from the States, and that's from the States. Um, that comes from the Environmental Working Group, which has heaps of good information on their website. But actually, it's the fruit and vegetables that attract the most bugs, right? So then they need to be sprayed the most. So actually, that doesn't change that much, regardless of which part of the world
So
you live.
what are we talking about? Which are the ones that need to be sprayed the most?
Yeah, so you look at things. So then you see the Clean 15 Dirty Dozen is maybe like, okay, so whatever's on the Dirty Dozen, maybe those ones what you want to try to get organic. And then Clean 15, don't worry about the organic, because they're going to have less pesticides. You still want to wash everything with a good pesticide wash. But so on the Dirty Dozen is always all the berries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries. It's a lot of the greens. It's always kale and spinach and that sort of thing. Um, so it's really
You're
apple.
breaking my heart here, Red.
I'm sorry. There's so much grief involved in getting information, right? Because when you don't know, it's like in a way, yeah, I don't want to say ignorance, but there's that statement like is bliss, right? And the more we know, the bigger the responsibility. And I don't know, like everything with nutrition, with I always like to go for 80/20 kind of thing, right? Like 80%, but we got to allow ourselves the 20% to scoff our chocolate cake when we're out or whatever it is. But it can be really expensive to go to like clean up the diet and all that kind of stuff. So I like things like cheat sheets, like the Clean 15 Dirty Dozen, and like we don't have to go all organic. It's hard to get in Singapore, but what if we have a really good vegetable wash that's going to cut through all those oil-based, because a lot of the pesticides now are oil-based, so we got to cut through that. And then we just focus on those kind of main groups that are really heavily sprayed, and then awesome, that's going to make a huge difference already. So back to so definitely looking at food and sleep and rest and what do we do, and movement is so important. And then what do we do to reduce our stress? So many things to look at there. And then of course, because now we're talking about optimizing, right? So optimizing our vibrance, optimizing our health. And then when we look at supplements, I love all the thing. I love probiotics, a good solid probiotics. And actually there's some studies that show a good quality probiotic. So again, that's probably not one that your gynae is handing out, or something that you just find like on the shelf at Guardian or something. But a good quality probiotic has even been shown to increase our chances of successful embryo transfers. So working on gut health is really important. And then working on our immune system. So immune system can be about vitamin D is a really big one. So many women that I work with are deficient in vitamin D. And optimal readings should be between 40 and 60. And I see women with like, yeah, 20s, 21. That not only for fertility, but that's going to increase our risk of all different sort of cancers. And also I see women who, for example, are with a like a GP or an allopathic doctor with very suboptimal blood work results, but they're told that it's normal, because the ranges that we work in when we're really trying to optimize the kind of the markers really different than what is considered normal. So things like vitamin D, zinc. I would like to see everybody off folic acid, and instead taking the natural folate form, which the body can actually use and absorb. And even this is, there's great studies on this, and even this is not kind of mainstream information yet. You know, the majority of folks are still handing out, midwives, doctors still handing out folic acid. And then we can look at so magnesium and omegas. I'm a huge fan of omegas. And then a super huge topic is iron. So I see over and over and over again as a part of the kind of more mainstream fertility kind of preconception blood panels, ferritin is not being included, which is actually your iron storage capacity. So we're still only looking at hemoglobin, which doesn't give us a full picture. And we're so blessed in Singapore to have the iron suites. And they're just ironsweets.com, and they're really specifically focused on helping women to top up their iron. They work a lot with educating around iron deficiency. So for me, I would say even in pregnant women, probably 2 out of 3 pregnant mamas that I work with get ISIN for at least 1 iron infusion during pregnancy, because we're so depleted. We bleed every month. So ferritin stores are also going to, if they're low, that's really going to reduce your chance of conception.
Red, before we wrap things up here, this is also everyone's last chance to submit questions. So maybe when Red answers this question, you can get your questions in before we finish things here. Red, you've published.
See how time flies when we're having fun.
Yeah, you've published a book. Before we go, can you tell us all about that book, where we can find it, and how we can learn more?
Thank you. Yes. So I wrote when I was pregnant with my son Rumi, who's about to turn 4. Gratefully, I get out of quarantine before that happens. May 12th is his birthday, and I get out on the 6th. So the book is called From Fear to Love, Your Guide to a Fearless Magical Birth. And it's available everywhere. So it's on Amazon, it's on Book Depository. Depository? Is that what it's called? Yeah. I have stock at home. I can send you one if you want to get in touch. It's at it's at Home Yoga. It's at Dr. Paul Sang's clinic at Thompson Medical. It's at the Osteopathic Center. You can find them dotted around Singapore quite a bit as well.
If you know, you know. Thanks to Kelsey for this question. Red, can you recommend a good probiotic?
Yes. So there are a few good probiotics actually that you can get online in iHerb. And now those names are going to, they're not going to be there, but people are welcome to contact me and I can link them if they want. One of the ones that I like here in Singapore that's fairly easy to get is Claire Labs. That is CLAIRE, Claire Labs. And they're a really good quality probiotic to take. So usually the good quality probiotics, they're quite expensive and they need to be refrigerated. And there's also some good ones that you can find in like the health food and supplement shops, like for example, Supernature at Forum Mall. There's another one, Proven Probiotics is another one that's really good. So it's easy to find them if you know where to look, like everything.
Red, thank you so much. Let's just sum up. You're an IVF mum, midwife, author, and founder of the Love-Based Birth. Thank you so much for your expertise. I'm sure everyone tonight found just your presence alone a very calming influence on their part of the journey. So just thank you very much. And yeah, we look forward to charting you and seeing what happens next with you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Kate. And do you mind if I share before we jump off a space where people can join me
No,
in a
please
program
do.
that I have?
Yeah, please do.
So I have my Vibrant Pregnancy program is starting on the 11th of May, and you can find it at just vibrantpregnancy.com. And it's a 5-week journey, and we really look at optimizing pregnancy. We go into detail with all of this kind of stuff that we're talking about, really facing our fears, learning how to work with them. And in each round, I've had preconception moms in the program and contacting me beforehand, like, I'm not yet pregnant, but I'm about to go through IVF or whatever, can I join? And actually what I realized is this program is just as much for preconception moms as it is for moms who are already pregnant, because the earlier we get the information, the better. And so to get really kind of like empowered and embodied and know that we have options, we have choices, and to start building that holistic team, it's never too early for that, to get that information. So one of my projects while I sit here is updating that site a little bit to be really inclusive language for the preconception mamas. So if this at all resonates, I hope some mamas out there will join me on that 5-week adventure. And it's all online over Zoom, so you can join from anywhere in the world.
Oh, it just sounds like an amazing resource, Red. Just thanks so much for sharing that with everyone. And if you are on that course, fingers crossed, wishing you all the very best for the future. Yeah, Red, best of luck with your quarantine.
Thank you.
And I hope it goes like...
I've got some little fairy lights up there, so that's helping my mood already.
All I can say is day 10 I felt was the worst, but it'll go in a flash, and I just hope it goes really well for you. And thanks to the whole community for tuning in tonight as well. And Red, thank you very much for giving up your time and sharing.
With pleasure. Anytime. So happy to come and chat anytime. And thank you for all the work that you do to support all the mamas out there. And thanks to everyone who joined us tonight as well.
Yeah, great. Take good care, Red. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.